what they do is they give you a wallet, which is again decentralized and in a very non-custodial manner. Because first of all, there is no regulation. They don't have to answer anybody. They simply have to answer you and they can satisfy you. I wouldn't say that you have to, deep dive into the exchange that you're dealing with. There are certain parameters. By understanding them, you can understand how secure, how decentralized. The government has a different set of responsibilities, a different set of outlook to it. The Web3 ecosystem has a different set of outlook and a different set of responsibilities.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Crypto Show by Coins Capture. I am your host MJgonsalves. Today we have Nitesh from Chaidex. Welcome Nitesh.
Hi, Malcolm. First of all, thanks a lot for having me here. And it's been quite a long time since we've spoken last time.
Great. So it's long time we have been associated. We have been meeting for a lot of events and all. We have been discussing about Web3 and crypto about it. So today,
Right.
It's an honor to have you as a guest. We'll start with your introduction. Tell me about your journey. Tell me about how you started in Web3 and about how it is going.
So let me start by introducing myself. I am Nitesh Mishra, and I'm co-founder at Chaidex and also founder at Ramble. So this journey is, the blockchain journey, if we have to talk about, began quite a long back in 2011 itself. I was very curious about what this stuff or Bitcoin is, and I accidentally read its, a white paper and also accidentally mining Bitcoin, joining a pool back then. It was pretty simple back then. So that was my first beginning. And, I wouldn't say beginning as such because, after that, after everything was done, I sold my coins for for but after that, fast forward to 2015, 2016, when I came to know about something called Ethereum, what they're trying to do, and then just hit me back that they're developing something on the very same technology that on which Bitcoin was built. So from then I started learning. I started teaching myself. I started understanding it, and I also started doing some freelance work in the space in order to understand, the basics of how things work in blockchain. What exactly does it stand for? The overall philosophy behind it, and it also gave me an opportunity to, so today I also teach at, a couple of private institutes for postgraduate diploma students. I teach blockchain. I teach them about distributed ledger technology for their certificate courses. I am also founding this company, this decentralized exchange called Chaidex, and also a layer zero protocol, as I would like to call it.
So we'll start with the basics, like as you mentioned, that example. So what's the major difference between a centralized and decentralized?
So you see, so when we talk about exchanges, it simply means one thing, okay, that you have to exchange something, like to trade something on, right? So the overall philosophy of an exchange is to enable people to come on this particular platform, whatever the platform is, and then enable them to trade their currencies, whatever they wish to trade, very effectively, very efficiently. Now, there's been after I would say the introduction of blockchain or the distributed ledger technology, as we call it. So after the introduction of this distributed and decentralized manner of doing things, the exchanges have also gone decentralized in many cases. So I would simply explain you what a centralized system and decentralized system does, and that will basically answer what a centralized exchange and a decentralized exchange is. So in a centralized system, basically a company or an institution or an organization actually holds the custody of the assets. So that's what centralized exchange is. So the responsibility lies on centralized exchange or the centralized entity to enable that platform or to enable that trade. And while doing so, also hold custody of your assets, be it PR, be it crypto, be it any asset, whichever asset they're allowing you to do. The very same thing does not happen in decentralized exchanges. So what they do is decentralized exchange, they do not hold custody of your assets. Basically, you are responsible for your asset security. But what they do is they give you a wallet, which is again decentralized and in a very non-custodial manner. Okay, so nobody owns the custody in case you forget the password or if you forget those seed phrases, you're responsible for it. So basically, it's your responsibility. You will always have access to your funds. Nobody holds your funds. They simply facilitate the transfer or the exchange of tokens or fiat or whatever, enabling you to do so. So they do it in a very decentralized manner. Decentralized means there's no ownership. Like for example, if I'm a user in a decentralized exchange, I can also have a voice in that exchange, in the way the exchange is working. Okay, so if there's something that I don't feel that I feel that this is not the way it's supposed to happen, I can actually voice my opinion, get voted on it, and if that is voted by everybody in on the platform, then that particular change will be done on that particular exchange, which is not true with decentralized exchange or decentralized. So this is what basically a CX or a DEX, as we call it. CX is centralized exchange, DEX is decentralized exchange. So centralized exchange, no custody of your asset. You don't hold custody of your asset. They are responsible for everything that's happening on the platform. And decentralized exchange, you're responsible, and you also have a voice in order if there's any change on the platform. So that's the very, very basic and very, very immense language, if I could put it.
Correct, correct. So in recent times, if you have seen there's the overview of going like centralized exchange been shut down or bankrupt, and people are doing decentralized exchange. What are your thoughts about it? Like what do you think about like why people are shifting to decentralized exchange?
So, Malcolm, actually, there's two ways of putting it. Okay. So, first way is a very general perspective of why this is happening and why is this a problem and why you should be worried about it. Point number two is, like what exactly is the solution? Why are people shifting to DEX? Okay. Why is that a certain shift? So you see, right now, you do not exactly have a habit of you dealing in a decentralized world. That is one of the biggest problems that is, right now. So you go to, let's say, New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, or Bombay Stock Exchange, or, London Stock Exchange, any stock exchange, all of these are private companies owned by private institutes or organizations. So basically, when you're, in your formative years of education, you're being taught, certain ways, certain tricks to participate decentralized, exchanges. So your knowledge or your idea of an exchange is always centralized. Okay. So that's what happened in this world of Web3 as well. So people came with that same knowledge, people came with that same mentality and started trading on, centralized exchanges. The reason being, because you already have that, command of, that knowledge, or already there's a memory that exists in your brain that, this is how you're supposed to use it, which you do not have anything about decentralized exchanges. In case of decentralized exchanges, you have to basically educate yourself. Like that's a pain pain point that you actually have to take in order to, be a participant of a decentralized organization or decentralized league. So this is what has happened until now. People are very comfortable in a centralized world and, in way things have been happening. So they took very same information and, very populated decentralized exchanges for, dealing in cryptocurrencies. This is what exactly happened. Now, the problem is, the very first problem with this Web3 world right now, the world that we are talking about, is it's not regulated properly. It's not regulated anywhere, to be frank. Okay. People are still experimenting. The governments, the organizations, the institutes are experimenting with it, like how to organize it, like how to basically bring a sense or a structure or a tax regime to it. So this is what's happening. This what gave the centralized few centralized exchange the leeway to do anything that they felt like. Okay. Now, first of all, there is, you basically, if you go to, let's say, for example, New York Stock Exchange, again, there's a wallet, the very same structure which a decentralized or a centralized crypto exchange. You have a wallet, or you have an account, basically transfer your money in that account to start trading. Okay. The New York Stock Exchange, the Bombay Stock Exchange, or any stock exchange, care of, they take care of the security. Okay. So, but they are also regulated at the very same, regulated by the very same government in which a country, like for example, New York Stock Exchange is regulated by SEC, Bombay Stock Exchange is regulated by SEBI. So basically, these are regulatory parameters, so they cannot. I mean, there are cheatings, there are frauds happening. I'm not saying that they don't exist or they don't happen, but you at least have the security of actually, in case there's something wrong with you, you have the security of going to someone, complaining them about it, getting a resolution for it. That is not still existent in centralized exchanges of cryptocurrencies. That's the biggest problem. So this is what happened. You know, there were a few people who owned the who owned your and our assets, who basically owned our assets, and they started taking decisions on behalf of us. And this is where they went wrong. Like, every human has a very limited knowledge or very limited experience, or sometimes our luck also doesn't favor always. So that was one of the biggest problems that actually happened. So in many exchanges, like if we have to talk about FTX, so in that, they took, whatever was, your asset. They took your asset and started trading on behalf of you. Okay, they basically holded custody in somebody else inside, and they did whatever they had to do. Because first of all, there is no regulation; they don't have to answer anybody. They simply have to answer you, and they can satisfy you by showing those fake numbers on your account wallet. That okay, you give 10 Bitcoin, so you do have 10 Bitcoins. You can check your wallet. I mean, wallet is custodial, the exchange is custodial, everything is under their custody. There is no regulation. So this is what, after the fall of FTX, I believe FTX was the second biggest, exchange after Binance, if I'm not wrong. No, the time it went down. Okay. So, you can see like exchanges like that. Even Binance has its own problems, like it's dealing with the regulatory of everything. Recently, I came to know that Netherlands has shut it down. Many European countries are not ready to deal with Binance and stuff like that. So, I mean, you see, the problem with centralized exchange is that they do facilitate, but you have to put your trust in them. You have to put your trust on the founder, to be precise. Like, so, I mean, it completely depends. Like, there have been many incidences. I'm not remembering the name of that centralized exchange, which went, the founder died, and the key of all these people were the founder. And
Canadian.
exactly. Yeah, the Canadian. You got me. So you see, the problem with centralized exchanges, especially in the cryptocurrency world, in the Web3 world, you're not exactly trusting the process. You're trusting the founder, the one man who is vulnerable because there are no regulations. So you're basically, you have sort of billions exchanges happening per day on these exchanges. And you are basically putting your trust on the founder rather than the process. This is where the decentralized exchange help you out. What they do is they remove this trust issue. Okay. Now all you have to do is understand the process. And that's a pain point, by the way. I mean, it's easily said than done, but that's still a pain point. So what we do is these decentralized exchanges, they remove the need of trust. Everything works on verification. Now you have to understand the process. Second, you always have to keep verifying. You can keep verifying. You can question. So that is what decentralized exchanges brought. Okay. So that is what people learned after losing billions of dollars in multiple exchanges. So right now the trend that you're seeing is a very same trend, I would say. And I'm very glad about it. I'm very stoked.
But you also mentioned about decentralized exchanges. Like people need to keep updated and need to know about it. So there are risks and challenges with decentralized exchange. So what are the major risks or like challenges you think would be?
So let me put it out this way. Like, I'm not exaggerating, neither I'm trying to sell anybody anything or anything like that. But the risks, a true decentralized exchange, like a very true decentralized exchange, is very, very, very less. Okay, or maybe 2%, 5%, 1% of what the risks were in centralized exchange. I'm not exaggerating. I'm telling you what I've learned and what I've seen on the basis of that. Okay, I would still ask people to do their own research before going to these exchanges and any decentralized exchange and putting their very first thing. There are multiple challenges, as I already said, that the challenges are huge and there are multiple challenges. but the risks are very low because first of all, you basically own the custody of your own assets. At any given point of time, neither the founder nor the company is holding your assets. You're holding it in your account and you're responsible. So that's the very, very detailed and the very fine line or the very basic of a decentralized. If somebody is calling itself a decentralized exchange. Okay, there are multiple exchanges calling itself X, but they are not exactly. So again, you have to do your own research. I think I'm asking for the people who is listening to this uh, or understanding, then still do their own research. Point number one. Point number two, risks are pretty low, but challenges are pretty high. The very first challenge is education. Okay, now as I already said that, at the beginning of our discussion that, we're not right now, mentally we are not prepared for a distributed or a decentralized solution because we have never taught that. It's a huge jump when I say it. When I say that you have to, trust yourself rather than trusting a person, this is not what you have done throughout your life. And this is not what you have been taught. So the very first challenge is education. You have to educate yourself. Second thing, you have to understand that I wouldn't say that you have to, deep dive into the exchange that you're dealing with. There are certain parameters. By understanding them, you can understand how secure, how decentralized, or how distributed your exchange is. So there are FAQs. There are, so what I'm trying to, convey over here is education is very important. You have to educate yourself. You have to understand what they are standing for, what exact problem they are solving, how independent, how transparent, and how, distributed they are. Why distribution is important? Because you see, currently the whole system, I mean, the Web2 world plus the things that are operating right now in the exchange is, everything is concentrated at one place. All assets are in one wallet, or all operations are situated in one place, or all the data is stored in one centralized server. So, I mean, the problem is if that server is hacked, or if that account is hacked, or if that, exchange goes through any rough time, the repercussions will be felt throughout the system. I mean, the people, the user, the builders, the people who have invested, people who are about to invest. So the repercussions are endless in that case. So that is why distributedness of a system is important. Like there shouldn't be one wallet holding everything. That makes it more vulnerable. There shouldn't be one data center that holds all the data. That is again very much vulnerable. So this is where decentralized exchange comes. They give you this distribution. You basically develop a product on this distribution and enable this distribution. The more you're closer to these fundamentals, the more secure your exchange is. And educate about, like for example, I'm sure that, I took this opportunity to again talk to you because I wanted to convey this to other people as well. Like people who are going to come on Chaidex in the future. Okay, I want them to understand what this Chaidex is exactly trying to do and how you are the one who are, making sure that everything is secure. It's not just me. You don't have to trust me. You have to understand the system. That's it.
Like every chain has their own DEX basic, right? So it's
Right.
not cross chain, right? But there are solutions related. So I think it's called as interoperability, if I'm not wrong. So tell me about it. What exactly it is and how it works. And
It's a very interesting question, Malcolm, because this is the very thing that Chaidex is trying to solve, and I, as a human, is also trying to solve. So, people who don't know me, I mean, I am a very huge advocate of interoperability in blockchain. The reason being, currently, the blockchain as a system does not understand anything that is beyond its ecosystem. So, any data coming from outside or any data coming from any other blockchain or any other protocol, one blockchain does not understand. A blockchain is a very, I would say, not closed. I would say it's an ecosystem that understands only its language, no language outside it. So that is a bit of a problem with the current blockchain systems. Okay, point number one. Point number two, we talk about interoperability. Okay, and then interoperability is a big challenge because you see, let me give you an example in that case for to understand it in a very great manner. So the very first thing, so we all know in Ethereum's ecosystem, there's a there's a standard, token standard called ERC20. Right. So if you have to build your crypto, your token, your currency, whatever you call it, cryptocurrency, whatever you call it, if you have to build a token on that platform, you have fungible token. I'm not talking about NFTs or anything. You have to if you have to create a token, a fungible token, you have to follow ERC20 architecture. Okay. Now, this is about Ethereum. Now, when we go to, let's say, Binance Smart Chain or BSC, as it is popularly called. So in Binance Smart Chain, if you have to develop a token, if you have to develop a token, you have to develop it on BRC, which is a different token architecture. So when we are talking about exchange of two different tokens, ERC20 and BRC20, there is no link between them because they both understand very different language. And that is the biggest problem with your current overall blockchain system. And this is what I'm trying to put in very layman's language. So this is the biggest problem. So, and this is where, the solution of interoperability should lie. Okay. The solution of interoperability should lie on the fact that these tokens can understand each other or maybe can exchange each other. Okay. Now, when you started asking this question, the very first thing that you said that every layer one or every protocol, every blockchain has its own, a decentralized exchange. So basically, I wouldn't call it a decentralized exchange. I would simply call it a swap, protocol swap. Okay. I mean, it's not a problem. People call it exchange. Okay. And even I call it exchange for the heck of, communication. But, in reality, they are swaps. Why they are swaps? Because you see, on ERC20, like on Ethereum, there's not just one token. There are multiple tokens. There are thousands of tokens in fact. Okay, built on ERC20. Now, if you want two tokens to basically swap amongst themselves, okay, you have, let's say, Aave token. You want to basically swap it into Uni token. Okay, they both are built on ERC20. Now, this is what Uniswap enables you to do. Both these tokens are based on ERC20, so they can understand. That's why it's very difficult to basically swap it. Depending on how much liquidity both of them have, the value is created and swapping is done. Okay, so this is what every blockchain enables. Like Sushi Swap, Pancake Swap, or Uniswap, whatever you call it. They're basically swapping protocols. I would rather say that. Okay. But in recent time, we've also seen that these swaps are basically upgrading themselves to accommodate all sorts of tokens. So in order to do that, the interoperability that you were asking me is basically a bridging solution. Okay, so now what happens is there's a bridge between two different blockchains. Now that bridge holds custody of both the tokens, understands what the difference is, it mints and burns the token accordingly, and then exchanges it in the form of wrapped tokens. So many of you may have seen WBTC, WETH. So they are wrapped tokens. So they happen only after they go through a bridging solution. Okay. Now, this is the big problem. If you go back just 1 year back in 2022, all these digital had almost all, I mean, whatever hacking you may have heard about, or whatever, not ruffles, I mean, whatever hacks you may have heard about, that some wallets are being drained, or, people are not unable to understand what's happening, some tokens have been hacked, that have happened on all these bridging solutions. So that is what the problem is. You see, the interoperability is not being solved. It's just a very desperate attempt or a very desperate solution, just because the world is growing at a very, huge space, and, we are growing pretty aggressively. The blockchain, the overall blockchain community, the ecosystems on blockchain, protocols on blockchain, they're simply, growing at a very aggressive pace. So these bridging solutions, they turn out to be a very, I wouldn't say, they're very vulnerable, very simple, and they are acting against the blockchains. But since they are the only solution available right now, there's no other solution apart from these bridging solutions that are available right now to answer the question of interoperability, which is very, very important in today's generation. Because you see, right now we are talking on Zoom. So what we are using one network, one internet, right? You're not using 10 different internets to access to 10 different products. That's not possible. I mean, if I have to use YouTube right now, so I will have to maybe change my network settings and then start using YouTube. Now, if I have to access my Gmail, I'll have to again set my network. This is not what we are used to. Okay, and this is what interoperability is trying to solve, or interoperable solutions will try to solve in the future, because there is no exact solution right now. But this is very important. As I said, I'm a very big advocate of this particular problem of this whole Web3 ecosystem.
With that, are you also doing something related for this issue, which is
Yes, yes.
like would you like
So yeah,
exactly at Chaidex you are serving?
right, right. So this is why, as I said, like I am very huge about this problem. Like I really want to basically understand. I'm understanding it on day-to-day basis. I keep watching all the different products that are coming, and there's a feeling of inadequacy always whenever I basically deal whenever I basically try to solve these problems. So this is where the Chaidex comes in. Okay. And this is where also Bramble comes in. So we are trying to, bridge the gap by making sure to understand how virtual machines are interacting with each other. If we understand that, then we are able to convey the message or the data from one blockchain to the another blockchain. And once that is done, you reach the point of interoperability. You reach the solution of interoperability, the exact solution of interoperability. Only then that is possible. But it's very, very difficult to basically do these things. Right now, we are trying to experiment, trying to do quite a lot of things with that. But the very first solution that came to my mind, and me and my co-founder Jaideep, who's basically Jaideep Rathod, and me, we are working on this solution called Chaidex. So we came up with this solution. Let's try to solve or maybe circumnavigate the system in such a way that we don't have to use these vulnerable bridges or these useless wrap tokens. The problem with wrap tokens is, for example, you take one ETH, one ETH. Okay. Now, if you get one wrapped ETH, the problem is to unwrap, you'll have to at least spend 10 to 20% of, whatever the token price. Like, for example, if right now ETH is priced at $2,000, okay, whatever it is. And if you get a wrapped ETH, to unwrap it, you may have to pay 20% of that. 20, sometimes it's 30, 40, it depends on in which bridging solution it's been wrapped in. It's quite a headache. Okay. So this is where we wanted to chime in. We wanted to understand, and we wanted to bring a solution to this whole system. So Chaidex enables protocol to protocol transfer of tokens without using any bridging solutions or without using any wrap tokens in a completely non-custodial manner, in a completely decentralized manner. So this is what Chaidex basically does. Okay, so for example, you come with ETH, somebody comes with BNB, you exchange it amongst yourself. Okay, there's an escrow account. We don't hold access to that escrow account. Every time there's a trade, a simple escrow account is created, and both the parties exchange it amongst themselves. It goes in their non-custodial wallets. We don't hold custody to anybody's wallet. We don't hold custody to anybody's escrow account. In case there's anything wrong, or in case there's any failure, the token is again transferred back to their wallets, their token wallets. There's nothing that we do. We simply facilitate it. So that's what we believe a decentralized exchange is supposed to do, rather than just swapping. Okay, rather than bringing any more confusion into the ecosystem. We are very close to the basics of what blockchain was supposed to be. Okay, and since it's a decentralized exchange, we are soon going to have quite a lot of things. So we are going to have a DAO. We are going to have a community center where people can communicate, and it's a P2P exchange, by the way. The very first solution that we came to do was, let's create a P2P solution first. Let's people, let's individuals, organizations, whoever wants to come, and then come create their own non-custodial wallet, hold access to their custody, and start transferring it amongst themselves. This is the very first step towards real the real problem of interoperability. And this is very close to the basics and fundamentals of what blockchain was supposed to do.
You also mentioned, I think, Bramble, right? In why do So it's one of your product which you are developing and building. So it's also, if I'm not wrong, it's a multi-chain, a multi-cross blockchain, something related like
Yeah, yeah.
some glimpse of it also.
So here's the thing. I mean, there are multiple other solutions also trying to work on that, and my team isn't that big. So we are simply, experimenting on this whole solution of how to build, of how to bring that, sense of exchange on the scene. So the very first thing that we are trying to do over here is we're trying to give a particular solution wherein whatever chain that you choose, and whatever chain that you choose to trade, or whatever chain that you choose to have your token on, okay, both of them can actually have, both of these can be exchanged without, any bridging solution or wrap tokens. The protocols have to understand each other. So that is the solution we are trying to pitch in, and we are trying to develop. So it's a very huge challenge, to be frank. It's not just me who's doing it. It's not just Bramble that is trying to do it. There are multiple other zero protocols. Like, for example, the very famous one is Polkadot Cosmos. So Cosmos brought this IBC concept of inter-blockchain, inter-blockchain protocol. Okay. Then Polkadot has its own relay chain that actually, is attached on multiple layer ones, and whatever, or whatever layer one it is attached to. But all of them have their own limitations. I think the limitations is based on the virtual machine they're trying to use. So Polkadot is highly dependent on WASM, this virtual machine. Okay, and there are multiple, and you have a huge set of people using only EVM. That is Ethereum virtual machine. I mean, there are multiple layer ones built on EVM, and multiple products built on EVM. There are multiple products built on WASM as well. But again, there's a huge difference unless and until we're able to, somehow communicate these virtual machines with each other. I don't see it as a solution. But right now, what we're trying to do is we're starting with two things. So the very first thing that we are trying to do is multiple, build multiple local single currencies. So we started with, local single currencies of two markets, and we have introduced it in Chaidex. And also, we are going to post them on, Bramble pretty soon, and make them interact with each other in order to solve that problem. Also, on Bramble, earlier what we used to do, and we are again going to continue with that, is, bring multiple indie game developers, give them an ecosystem where they can build their own tokens and start interacting with the users. And the end users will start getting this token as a reward for spending time or playing on their platform. It's a play to earn model that we'll be able to create using Bramble's ecosystem. So this is a couple of things that we are experimenting. We are, doing it on a daily basis. So I can only tell you this much about it. But I would really appreciate any help or any effort or any collaborations when it comes to people with different ideas. It shouldn't be like I have a certain limitations. My team may have certain limitations. It is supposed to be very open, and it is very open. So I just invite anybody who thinks this is a big problem and wants to solve it. You're welcome.
Great. So great to know about like what all these decentralized exchange are like, about your product also Chaidex. And so with this, I think just to end up with the podcast, just what are your thoughts about the regulations and regulatory part would be doing for this decentralized exchange, and how it would be like this?
So when we talk about regulations, I believe, there's something that we have to understand is that, the government has a different set of responsibilities, a different set of outlook to it. The Web3 ecosystem has a different set of outlook and a different set of responsibilities. Again, when we talk about it's grouping at a very different way. When we talk about our, especially if we talk about our government, so we live in a democratic society. So the government also has to think about the last person or the poorest or the weakest person of the society, this country. And whatever regulations they come up with, it comes for the benefit of that person, comes for the benefit of that huge section of the society. So I think there's a huge conversation that is still, pending to happen. Okay, it's supposed to happen between the Web3 ecosystem and the government, because you see a lot of Web3 products or a lot of Web3 ecosystem attaches itself to the financial development financial products, or includes financial transfer of assets in some way or the other. So that is something that government also has to understand. They have to take care of that. But when as I was talking about UPI, so UPI is by far the best solution. Our government has actually outdone on the global platform. Okay, it is by far the best solution. You see, every person who has a mobile phone today uses UPI, and you don't need education for that. The product is so beautiful. Okay, I mean, still there's quite a lot of other things that should happen on UPI, but whatever we have, government of UAE, government of Singapore, government of Australia, all these countries who already have a huge set of talent, who already have a huge set of their own setups, are trying to understand how UPI works, are asking our government for help. They're basically hiring people from our country to understand, to implement that structure with the help of the Indian government. Okay, so I mean, the regulations, wherever they come, whatever they come, are not just meant for the Web3 ecosystem or the Web3. It's also meant for the last person, and also from the Web3 side. What I would like try to suggest is that we have to also create products. We also have to understand the needs of the society as well. We both have to think about the society. The people who are going to use or not going to use Web3. We have to understand. We have to enable that education. That education is still pending. There's quite a lot of things that is pending. Yeah, there's one thing that I really not appreciate is that I'm very desperate at to curb it. Okay, right now we have 1% TDS, 3% taxation.
Right.
So that is I would suggest I think that's a very huge step that they have taken just to curb a particular curb a particular section. So that's not a very ideal place. You see, right now all the companies are moving out of this. The Web3 companies who hold asset, who has access to billions of dollars of people's money and stuff like that. And so it's high time we took care of that mentality that we also have to attract talent. We have to not attract talent. I mean, we are very talented. Indians are by far very talented. Indians and Chinese are very talented people. Okay. So we have to retain those talents. Okay, we have to learn from that. We have to make sure that these talents are useful for our society as well. So there's lesson from both the end. I think whenever the regulations come, it'll come for the better for everyone. Right now, whatever the situation is, I would suggest the government as well as people using web products, basically discuss more about it and try to come up with a better solution, because this is not at all helping anyone right now.
Right. Yeah, it will take time, but it will be done in maybe
It will be.
years.
I'm very confident, because India has the right talent, has the right attitude to be at the global platform. The only thing that I would ask people to do is rather than learning from others' mistake, or maybe waiting for them to implement solutions, let's experiment within ourselves and try to implement first.
Right.
Let's be the vision who we always want, rather than copying and understanding from them, because they will create the sets of regulation for their benefit, not for our benefit. So we have to take care of our benefits as well, and maybe we can teach that in the world, because our understanding is always of making sure that the weakest section of the society has also to be included. So that's what our understanding has always been. So we have to come up with our own set of regulations.
Correct. And I think with product related to Web3 and blockchain, we are already doing the best in the space. We have good products. They are
Very right. Yes, yes.
That's even something we are back. So with that,
I
I
have
think
to retain the talent at least.
yeah, I think with that we'll take a final call about this today's podcast, and we'll just end it. Thank you, Nitesh. Thank you
Okay.
for your time,
Thanks.
for your information which you have shared with our audience. Great to have you. Have a nice day.
Thanks a lot, Malcolm. Thanks a lot for having me here. Have a nice day. Bye.